Hey guys, what is up? It's Ryan and another video. Okay. So this is just going to be information for scout leaders on having members who bind their chest or are uncomfortable with their body in scouting. So if you have a young person in your unit who binds their chest, talk to them. And if you don't know if they bind their chest, talk to them. So if you know that you have a trans individual in your unit, or a trans masculine individual in your unit, then please ask them if they do bind their chest. A binder is a piece of clothing which gives the appearance of a flat chest when that is not how their body is. So binders are extremely restrictive and they do limit the amount of physical activity you can do. They also lead to very awkward circumstances for the individual involved. So, for example, you're not meant to wear a binder for more than 8 hours, but for so many trans youth, wearing it for less than 8 hours or 8 hours is not possible because it's such a short period of time. It's only, hang on, how many hours it's 24 hours in a day, 8, 16, 20. Only a third of your day. For me, I'm always wearing it for 10 plus hours, and it doesn't do great for my health, but that's the only way that I'm comfortable with being out in public and etc. etc. So it does become awkward when your unit is doing a game, and the game looks really fun, and you want to take part, but you know that because you are wearing a binder, you can't. So you say, it's fine, I'll just sit out and watch this. But your unit, your leaders don't know that you bind, and they don't know the reason, so they just think, they don't want to take part, so they try and force you to take part. It's automatic, because without a reason, you are there to take part in activities, and if they don't know the reason why, then they're going to try and make you take part. But obviously if you're binding and you take part in an activity which you physically can't do, it can lead to serious health problems or serious injuries such as broken ribs, which is quite common for individuals who wear binders. So just to come around this, make sure that if you are an individual who binds, you talk to your scout leaders, but also if you're a scout leader and you have an instinct that one of your young people binds, or if you know that you have a trans masculine person or non-binary person or gender fluid person or one of those similar identities in your unit, that you talk to them and that you do ask them if they bind their chest, because although it might seem awkward, I'm pretty sure that they'll appreciate the fact that you actually care and that they can now talk about it freely to you, because I know that when I first started binding, I was not taking part in many activities at all because I didn't know what I could and couldn't do in this binder, and I did not want to end up with broken ribs. And it did lead to a conversation with one of my leaders about wearing a binder. But now, if I say I can't do an activity, they are aware that I can't do an activity. I'm not saying I can't do an activity because I don't want to do an activity, I physically can't do it. And I think that's where the line, comes across, is if someone says they can't do an activity, especially if they're trans, it doesn't mean that they don't want to. I would love to do some of the games that I've said I can't do, but I can't do it. Any game which requires me to lie down on my front, I can't do, because it hurts so much. Another thing is, now that it's summer, people who don't have a binder, who want to conceal their chest, will still be wearing multiple layers including hoodies and coats and multiple t-shirts and long sleeve t-shirts. And in 28 degrees plus, this is not ideal. You need to make sure that if somebody is doing that, one, you make sure you have a conversation with them about it, because you can't, although you can't really tell them to take the clothes off, because take the extra layers off, let me rephrase that, because they'll be really uncomfortable then, they won't be happy, and they could cry, have a panic attack, etc, etc. Make sure you are talking to them about possibly the reasons why, if they are comfortable sharing that, but also what you can do to help them make it easier, etc, 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 because a lot of people just need support, and they need to know they've got someone, that someone's got their back. But you need to also make sure that they are drinking enough water, had to specify that, to keep themselves hydrated, because obviously wearing that many layers in heat is going to dehydrate you, so drinking. But then also make sure that people in your unit who are trans are using restrooms, so toilets, because I know that when I first started socially transitioning, and actually to this day, toilets are an issue. So when I first started socially transitioning, I would not go to the toilet, and it resulted in me feeling ill all the time, and it can lead to serious health problems. But that was just because I was not comfortable going into either restroom. I felt as if I didn't pass enough to use the male's restroom, but I also had been shouted at in a female's restroom because some random old woman told me I was in the wrong restroom and called me a pedo. So I was like, oh, okay, so I can't use either toilets. So things got a bit awkward, and just make sure again that you're reassuring that this individual can use the toilets that they are comfortable with at their scout hall. Even on camps, make sure you're having this conversation so that they know where they stand, they know what they can do, and so that they trust you, so that if there is an issue, for example, getting assaulted in a toilet, I don't want to, scare anybody or whatever, but it does happen, and I think for the young people, especially, they know that this risk exists, and they need to know that they've got someone with slight power that they can talk to about if something like this happened. Now, that was another issue at school. Now I know I'm talking about scouts, but this can be applied with scouting. That my school didn't know that I was trans, and I had how many hads am I going to put in this sentence? I'd had some bullying which was related to me being trans. Nothing physical at school, but just sort of verbal abuse, shall we put it like that. And, slurs were constantly getting chucked around. Transphobic slurs were constantly getting chucked around. Homophobic slurs were constantly getting chucked around. And I felt as if I couldn't talk to anyone about it. And it was a really isolating time in my life, because I was like, I need help. Like, I'm getting scared to be coming to school, but I don't know who I can talk to about it, because if I'd said, to my teachers, this person called me this, and this, they're going to be like, but why? Because they didn't know that I was trans, and it was petrifying. You need to make sure that you are talking to your young people, and making them aware, of things like this, and also being there for them. Friends are great, and my friends have kept me so safe during scouting and school in my transition, but you need an adult on your side, and you are their scout leader. They need support off you, and they need to know that you are there if they have an issue, and they can only get this reassurance if you talk to them, and if you let them know that you, maybe not that you fully understand what they're going through, but that you can try to understand what they're going through, and that you will fully support them through what they're going through. And yes, I have got multiple plasters on my finger. I put it in a blender accidentally when making banana bread, but the banana bread tastes good, so I don't really care, even if my finger is really painful. So yeah, just make sure that you talk to trans youth that are in your sections, because honestly, without support of my leaders, Scouting would have been... my explorer journey probably wouldn't still be going on without support from my leaders, and I'd have, had so many broken ribs without people checking up on me and saying, look, it's like been 11 hours since you've had your binder on, you really need to take it off, Ryan, etc, etc. Because we sometimes forget, and we need someone to say, look, have you taken it off? Even if it's a leader. If one of my leaders came up to me and was like, okay, have you taken it off yet? How long have you been wearing it? I would not find that weird at all. I would, especially if no one else had asked me, I'd really appreciate it, because honestly I forget a lot, and sometimes I do need that reminder, and I think every trans person does, because otherwise it's too late and then you end up in hospital with broken ribs. So yeah, don't ever feel awkward about talking to young people about things like this, because if you're awkward about it, they're going to be awkward about it, and who wants that? Okay, so yeah, also, one quick note, this video is getting very long and I really didn't want it to happen, but oh well. In Explorers, I don't know if this is the same for other trans people, but I will always grab this part and I will probably be bent over, or if I'm just like holding on like this, to either side, like this part here, please come up to me and ask me if I'm okay, because it happens quite a lot, and normally if I'm at a point where I'm having to support myself, or holding my ribs or something, it normally means that my ribs are starting to bruise, and it's something I've learned over a year, but I don't want to take my binder off, but by someone else coming up to me and saying that, are you okay, I can see that you're in pain, it'll sort of kick my ass into gear, basically. So yeah, it's another thing. If you see someone holding onto their ribs like that, please check up on them, whether you're a friend or a leader. I don't care how many people come up to me and ask me if I'm okay if I'm doing that, because honestly I would rather not be in hospital. So yeah, that's it for now. I might release a part 2 because I feel like there's so much more related to trans health that needs to be talked about, so this could be part of like a playlist, because this isn't talked about enough, and let's change that, for the safety of young people in Scouting. So yeah, I hope you found this video useful. Please forward it to any Scout leaders you know, because honestly I really do need to know that trans individuals in Scouting are getting listened to and are staying safe. So thank you for watching. I shall see you all in the next video.